The final budget workshop for 2025. I'll go over the agenda here. Talk about the fund balances again, the results of the proposed changes of our tax change, but again, where there's no overall tax increase this year. I'll talk about the bond project tracking sheet, the capital expense plan, the 4 fund budgets, and then a summary of it, of all that we're recommending. And then we'll move on to the budget planning document for a few changes that were recommended and made. There were a few public works changes too that we made that I'll address. So first going into the fund budgets, these are the fund budgets as of today. General fund budget, and between that and the reserve, we have more than, we just shy of $2 million there. And we are putting more money back in the reserve next year, according to the budget. The road fund is now at 1.526 million.
So these are balances, not budget.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, these are the balance. I've been saying budget, but I meant balance. These are the balances that are in the current funds. Liquid fuels is at 220,000. The two SOAR funds, the reserve and the actual fund is just shy of 1.1 million. The bond fund is just over 3 million. And then we have the petty cash and this is the self-contained breathing apparatus reserve for the police, for the fire department. And I actually see that I didn't update. I think that actually is and that I might have forgotten to update that. That might need to be a little bit higher. The proposed changes, the tax changes that we have for next year, where we're eliminating the road tax for a year, will result in these changes that we showed here. So after next year, the general fund is currently at 1.1, about $1 million. After next year, we estimate that it'll be at about 600,000. I'm sorry, after this year, we expect it to be at about 600,000 by the year end this year. And then next year, we expect about the same because we run in a balanced budget. The general fund reserve will go up. We're expecting to end the year around where we are now, which is 934,000. We will go up to about 1.32 million with adding that money into the reserve and interest. That accounts for interest as well. Road fund, as I mentioned, we're going to be diminishing that a little bit. It'll at the end of 2025 should be down to about 928,000. The SOAR fund will remain about the same, as will the SOAR fund reserve with interest. And then the overall totals will be about $500,000 shorter than they are now because we're cutting down that road fund to spend on some of those C20 projects. So moving on, the bond sheet has been updated. It does look like we're not moving forward with C20 GSI projects, although we did get notification today, and Larry will explain this, but it looks like the recommendation is going to be to move forward with the C20 project right now with the grant funding we have from Alcosan, and then applying for additional grant funding from Alcosan after or when the next project cycle is up, which is cycle 11, which will happen in June. And we anticipate that we could get anywhere additional from $200,000 to $300,000 additionally from that. Is the expectation. We haven't budgeted for that, but that's the expectation that we'll be able to bring back. So not only do we not have to do the GSI projects, but we might actually get a little more funding out of it. The actual cross spreadsheet on that has been updated, and the bond fund buffer now gives us about 560,000 as a buffer, because I also pulled out. I realized that I had engineering in the bond fund that we didn't pay out of the bond fund. It was actually paid out of the sewer fund. So that actually helped us. So that's going to help us have additional money and get us a little bit closer here at the end. We are still going to have to be very meticulous about watching this next year to make sure that we don't run out of money. There's going to be a point at which we have to borrow money from one of our other funds. It's just a matter of how much. And that's because we have to pay for these things before we get the grant money back. So it's that buffer time between
and so payments. Your recommendation and our ability, and legally we can borrow from ourselves and put it back.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's preferred over
Oh, we're
obviously taking
actually
out.
borrowing, yes.
Right, right.
Okay.
I mean, it might end up that if everything hits at the wrong time and we do have to take a small loan out, that might happen.
But it
But
would be very short term,
it would be very short,
what we would call,
a few months.
they call bridge loan,
Right,
so we get reimbursed.
Yep.
Okay,
yeah.
all right,
And I don't know, what are rates normally on bridge loans? Do you have any idea?
we haven't done one,
Yeah, I've never done.
Been a while since I've seen.
yeah, and the whole time I've been here, we haven't wanted to do one.
Rates are probably higher than they have been historically.
Yeah, I'm sure they are, right? We've talked about the capital improvement plan. It's all built into the actual budget document itself. And these are now the draft fund budgets for each of them. 6.8 million for the general fund. The bond fund project, since I had to move, and I mentioned this last time, is now at like 13.6 million because I moved some of the projects that we expected to happen this year into next year. The sewer fund is at 2.6 million and the road fund is just shy of 660,000. So overall, the general summary is it's a balanced budget, no tax increase. And none anticipated for the next few years unless something drastic happens. Move the road tax to the general fund for 1 year. We mentioned that. We're adding about 323,000 to the general fund reserve, and that went down a little bit because I was more conservative with some of the things that you mentioned, John. With those two on the swimming, and then we added some things to public works that they were concerned about. So we added some money for repairs and tools and curbing supplies that I had missed. And so there was a few changes there. Overall, $13 million in infrastructure project, $10 million of which are funded by grants. And then we are planning to complete in this budget, we are planning to complete all O&M repair projects. So we will be caught up on O&M repairs, and we will only then have to be doing 10% a year at that point of what, because we basically, the way it works, we have our entire sewer system, we camera 10% of it every year. And we come up with a list of projects that need to be done, repairs that need to be made. And we'll be attempting to do those repairs in the following year, every year, so that we're always on schedule. So with that being said, I can move to the document itself. And I'll stop sharing of this. And start sharing that. So I marked them in red, the things that I've changed. This I changed basically because of what we've been receiving in. I lowered this a little bit based on what we received last year. And what we've actually gotten in, so I lowered this a little bit. And then I raised this one a little bit because this one has been higher, the EIT and penalty interests has gone up. So I raised that one slightly. The cable franchising fees, I had set at 72,000, but we've already broken that for this year with a month left. So I raised this a little bit, but still keeping it lower than it had last year. Obviously, less people are using cable than they have in the past, so that's going to continue to go down most likely. Although that is still for cable internet, for those folks who use cable internet, that will still be in there. Those were the only changes I made in this section. And then I made the two changes that you mentioned, John, in swimming. These two I changed, lowering them from 55 and then to 45 so that they're a little more, oh, wait. Oh, you asked me to increase the general admission.
No.
Oh, no, I had it at 50.
I said, suggest 13 and 14, 113 and 14, we do 55 and 45.
And that's yeah.
Okay, because they were
I have to
much higher.
Yeah, I think I had them at 58 and I forget what I had them at.
Yeah, it was 60, I think it was
59.
60.
Okay.
50 it was.
Yeah. Okay, so we lowered those.
Well, so the sanitation, so those were the things.
Yeah.
So what I said is the trends on those, that's 108, 9, and 10. The trends for all of them have been down except for 109, but we're still saying that we're going to increase them. Because these are on the delinquent payments, so these would be things from a lower.
Not necessarily, because again, delinquent payments come in throughout all of next
Yeah.
year. So even if your payment is due in April of next year and you don't
yeah.
pay until, so that will still go on next year.
Yeah, I know, and I was just looking at the trends of the past. Few years there to see that. Those lines. Aren't close to where we're saying we want to be here at 75. So this year we're at what, 51?
Yeah,
Yeah, and prior it was 66, 60, so we're probably gonna land either lower than that, but now we're saying we're going to 75. And that's a concern because I think that's more than where we have been.
yeah,
And then the P and I. We budgeted 3 and now we're saying 10 and we've been averaging what, 5?
well, we had 8 last year,
Mhm.
5 the year before, yeah,
This year we're at 4.
yeah.
So I don't see us getting to 10 there. And
Well, in that case, you're betting on our community members being in worse shape than they are
right,
now.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. And we're gonna have a big change, so I didn't want to make too many, and then that's 110 is we're saying it was it 10. Yeah, we're at 10 now for 110, and then we were at 21, 17, 22 was the budget, so we're lowering it down to 20, but is that realistic that we're gonna get 10,000 even more for this year?
So what do you recommend? You wanna put this at 65? And that's what we got at this point in 2023.
And prior years, and this year we're at 50.
So, but we're at 52 right now.
Right, and that might be a fluke year, you never know. Like,
Yeah, well, it is, yes.
because the last years before that, we were all above that,
Okay.
and the rates are higher this year, so.
Yeah, okay,
And maybe move this one down to 5.
yeah,
Mhm.
I would leave, I mean, I know we have this one year where we have 10, but years prior were all in the 20s. But,
Oh, I don't have it on the sheet.
but yeah, I don't know what to anticipate with penalties interest this year. With the increased cost, maybe more people will not pay. I have no idea what to expect.
Okay, I mean, what does everybody else? Only a few.
We can move this down to 20 and then just to be cautious. And then I'll take this out of what we're putting in the general fund reserve for now.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, because I don't think there's any place else.
now we've
We're gonna change it.
tweaked a lot of things. So I
Yeah.
don't wanna- So this will be.
That answers the sanitation income question I had before. The other was on the payroll page.
Okay,
I didn't understand the 3 tabs, which were total wages, current wages, and pay rate.
the pay rate is hourly if it's hourly, or salary is just the actual wage, but in the case of like. Public Works and whatnot, I just put in their whole wage for the year because hourly, I mean, they get overtime. So really, it all comes from the total wages line.
So current wages is 2024, total is
Yeah.
proposed 2025.
Right,
And then D, we just ignore.
B ignore. Yeah, B is an internal calculation.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
So the changes from the one that you sent Monday. Which I responded to, or Sunday. Which I
Yeah,
responded to, the only change, you said there were public works.
Yeah, there were a couple, I'll show those. This one. Fuel expense I increased based on November actuals. My batteries.
They're dying.
We have more batteries right there.
It's going out.
They last, what, two
Yeah, I
meetings?
left-
One meeting,
Oh,
yeah.
So I left them in there, that's
We get-
that's the problem, I forgot to take.
Can we
them out.
budget,
6 minutes, what are you doing?
I know. We budget batteries for next year, please. Do some donations.
Holiday for PA Cyber General.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay,
And then actually vehicle maintenance, I think I changed a little bit too. But these are, I did the same thing. These are small changes that I took out of the, out of that reserve. So,
so what are they for since then?
one was this one, and I don't remember how much it was. I think it was a $3,000 increase, and that was fuel. Mainly because we had been trending very low, but then we went up in the last month and a half pretty fast. I think because we do store fuel down at the, we do have a tank, a 300-gallon tank down there that was refilled. And that might have been, that was one of the things, and then also prepping all the trucks for winter. What's that?
I think, but not great.
Yeah.
Then there was the other one there. What's the 14?
That was the repair costs, vehicle maintenance. I had lowered that a little bit. We raised it back up, but then I talked to Dave and because we're ordering 2 new trucks. As part of the capital program, we won't need as much money for repairs, so we lowered that back. to
Okay.
14. We don't anticipate needing as much in that. We have 2 of our trucks are really long in the tooth. Those are the only other.
Oh, that's the only two? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay, that's all the questions I had. And the narrative? Did you, I was trying to.
I think I might have made I don't know that I made all the adjustments in the narrative. I made some of the adjustments, but not all of them.
Okay. Okay,
But we can review if you guys want to review.
This is
What's that?
this is a real nice addition,
Thanks.
long awaited.
Mhm, for sure.
We can look at the fee schedule if you guys want to go back to that.
Sure.
Did you, I don't know that I sent it out, but there was in the drive, there
Yeah.
was a.
You had all the
Did I?
changes.
Yes, I sent it. I sent
No,
it.
it was in the drive.
It was
You
in
had
the
the
drive.
changes, and then that's what we talked about at last meeting.
And they were basically all the changes that we discussed, and so now they're in here. I think it was a good discussion last time. I don't know that we have to go into too much depth with it, but we did change the military banners to just being double-sided. So it's easier for us to manage. We left the handicap accessible signs at $100. The community day, the Crafton, the rentals, we
Yeah.
changed it so that you rent the pavilions together, the Hoffman and Bogus pavilions. And we don't have weekday and weekend rates anymore, because that was just too much to manage anyway. It didn't really make a lot of sense, and it really didn't show us renting a lot more. We rent them mostly on the weekends. We almost never rent them on the weeknights.
Can we tab those over?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's there. Yep. Swimming pool fee, we did adjust the adult one by $5. And then the non-resident, not the swim pass, the lessons, I think is, the rental fees, we changed, the private party we increased.
And the
for both.
non-resident annual or the pass.
What's that?
It was the non-resident pass too.
Yeah, and I think we changed that too. Yeah. Okay, then There was one other thing, I think. Oh, then then the sewer rate changes, and so did the oh, I've got to double check the sewer rate to make sure that changed. And then the solid waste and recycling. It's changed, and that was the last thing. So those are all what we had talked about at the last session.
So.
And that is all I have for the workshop today.
Any questions or comments from anybody in council?
Oh, and I wouldn't share this either.
So is this one public now? Or is it
Which one?
the one that we are currently seeing?
Well, it wasn't posted today. It'll be, if we approve it today, it will be posted tomorrow.
Okay,
Because of it's been public, but there's a few little tweaks and changes that aren't public yet. So they haven't been.
so I
But
think,
I can add this first thing tomorrow morning.
yeah. So I think especially for our council members that aren't here, that will be voting, we probably should either write down so that during the council meeting, we can explain that
Yeah.
these are the changes we just made to this one.
Yep.
And it should be the one that you sent on Sunday, so that everybody's aware of
Okay.
the changes happening from that one.
Yep.
Final questions or anything?
All right, then I'll
Alright.
pause this with that, and then we can reconvene in 27 minutes.
Sounds good. Okay, we're gonna get started. Yes,